24-3 Rams, and then the defense will just take over. Cam Newton on the bench, Jarrett Stidham in the game, but when the pass rush is like this, it probably doesn't make any difference. Here we go. It's a team meeting at the quarterback. Leonard Floyd and Aaron Donald get there. 6 sacks on the night for the Rams, who beat the Patriots 24-3, and so it is a terrific win for them. But the headline here, as we bring Mark Sanchez into the conversation, is it is the end of an era. The Patriots have had 17 straight seasons of at least 10 wins. That comes to an end. They've had 11 consecutive seasons in the playoffs. That feels now practically assured of coming to an end. So, Mark Sanchez, as you take a look at what happened to them last night and the season in totality, what's the number one thought in your mind?
Well, I mean, the most important thing, they fooled you a little bit last week running this team like a service academy team. They look like, the Navy cadets out there. They try and limit your possessions. They pummel you with defense, and, they play incredible special teams. But if you have one error, like a bad screen throw on a great hold by Aaron Donald, and then you get stopped on 4th down and you don't get field goal points, boom, next thing you know, you're down 17-0. So there's just no margin for error when you watch this team. And if you do stumble on defense a little bit, you give up a couple rushing yards here or there, you get gashed in the rushing game, then you're totally screwed. Your plan's out the window. But Cam's working with the same cast of characters, or maybe slightly worse than Tom Brady was. And this was our issue with the Patriots last year. So in some ways, it's a tough evaluation for Cam.
Yeah, that's fair. And so, RC, let me come to you. As we evaluate Cam, we evaluate the Patriots, and we figure out what the future is. For those just joining us, we spent a lot of our first hour talking about the people who were there. Where does it need to go next, RC? What do they need to do at quarterback next year?
They got to make changes. They have to go find a guy. They got to find the Patriots guy. And I think you got to Cam Newton in a way that you necessarily weren't expecting. He was still there. You understood that Jarrett Stidham or Brian Hoyer wasn't the guy, and he was the next best thing that you could get. And you hope that you could bring some of the old Cam out of him, because you knew you didn't have weapons. You knew you'd have to be a run-heavy team, and you hope adding the quarterback run to that would help. But this has been a failure. And I didn't look at the last week against the Chargers and think that the Patriots were back. I didn't buy that. They weren't going to catfish me into driving across the country because I thought that you were 6'2" and beautiful. No, that's not what was about to happen. When you look at this team, they have too many holes to fill. Defensively, you have opt-outs. Outside, you haven't drafted well, and you haven't stocked this team with skill players. Bill Belichick has to start over. Is Bill Belichick fit for a rebuild? Does he understand how to get this team to be something that they never had to be without Tom Brady? And that's the question. Nico said he believes that Bill still wants to coach, that Bill still has the fire. Well, does he have what it takes to take a new rendition or a new version of the New England Patriots to the Super Bowl? Because we all know that's the standard that is set in New England.
So, Bart Scott, let me come to you on that. If Bill's actions suggest that he doesn't believe Jarrett Stidham is the future of quarterback at New England, and I think that does seem relatively clear, what do you expect him to do? Do you expect him to try and find a veteran? There should be a lot of them, or does he start over with somebody new and young?
Well, he's going to have to try and find a veteran. And we think about maybe Matthew Stafford. We talked about a little bit, maybe taking a trade for Jimmy G, bringing him back home, because I don't think San Francisco is really sold on him. But you got to understand that the sexy part about being able to attract free agents, guys that were in the middle of their career, guys who are established like A.J. Green or Keenan Allen, the reason you were always able to attract them because you had Tom Brady as the quarterback. So now it's going to be a hard recruiting sale, because from every former teammate that I've ever played with that went to New England, they said it is miserable. And they were winning. So I'm going to imagine what it's like to be in that building now that they're losing. So Bill Belichick has to figure out if he's going to go young. He may lose Josh McDaniels, because Josh McDaniels has an opportunity to go coach Deshaun Watson. He has an opportunity to go coach Herbert potentially. Maybe Sam Darnold or Trevor Lawrence. Is that going to keep you in, knowing that you may not know who you're going to coach and you may not have any weapons around him to build, and know that may be nepotism going on in New England? Because if Josh McDaniels says, hey, you told me you're going to give me your world, Bill Belichick, Bill Belichick says, hey, here's your world, I go up to the upper office, you're going to be stuck with two of his kids that you may or may not even like. So if you leave, if Josh McDaniels leaves, he has an opportunity to build a staff and build a team the way that he wants to, and don't have to have any arranged marriages. So I believe if I'm Josh McDaniels, I get off the Titanic while it's sinking, because I don't want to stay around for 3-4 years before this thing get turned around, because every other quarterback in the division is better than the one we have.
Boy, there's a lot to unpack there, but very interesting. We'll see. McDaniels, maybe something happens down in Tampa with his old quarterback. We'll keep a close eye on him. Okay, more on this one as we go. Meanwhile, let's go on the clock with a couple of the other big games of this weekend, and we'll talk about who the most important players are. And Bart, I'm coming back to you. Kansas City, Miami is an interesting game. Who's the most important player on the field? Go.
Well, when you talk about Miami, you talk about the number 2 pass defense in the game going against one of the most explosive teams in all of NFL. So I think the most important player is going to be Travis Kelce, because you can lock these guys on the outside. But if I ask you to name, the corners for the Miami Dolphins, you can do that easily. If I ask you to name the safeties, you can't. And it's going to be a reason, because you're going to know their names after this week, because Travis Kelce is in the running for me for offensive MVP, over 1,000 yards receiving 5 times as career. That's Hall of Fame type stuff right there.
All right, very interesting. Let me go next to you, Sanchez. Colts, Raiders, with everything at stake for both teams. Who's the most important player on the field? Go.
I would have said DeForest Buckner just to change it, but I can't. I got to go with the quarterback again. It's Phillip Rivers. He's beaten this team 18 times that he's faced them. That's the most by any quarterback. Thank you, Hembo, for that stat. But the most important thing for Phillip Rivers is control your emotions, because he gets mouthy, he gets fiery against Gruden and this group. But don't forget, they might be without Jacobs. They're banged up in the secondary. Abram could be out. Arnett could be out. Heath could be out. Just keep things under control. Don't start spraying the ball all over the place because you're worried about talking smack to the defense. Just play your game.
The most predictable thing that we have is that Mark Sanchez will name a quarterback as the most important player
quarterback
on the field. The next one is for you, RC. Big game, very big game in the NFC. Cardinals, Giants. Who's the most important player?
It's not just one player. It is the run offices of Gallman and Morris, and that's Wayne Gallman and Alfred Morris. When you look at what they were able to do against the Seattle Seahawks, they had Colt McCoy as the starting quarterback, who played more like a miniature pony, but it was Wayne Gallman's big run in the third quarter that got them in scoring position, and Alfred Morris scores. Wayne Gallman gets another big run, and there's a touchdown pass to Alfred Morris. This team has outrushed their opponents by 305 yards in the last 4 games, and that's the win streak that they have.
The run offices of Gallman and Morris. I like it. We'll take a short break on that thought. Much more to come on this Football Friday, including Aaron Rodgers getting downright mushy, talking about his favorite receiver. You'll hear what the Packers quarterback said and why it was so important. Plus, if you think TB12 is bummed right now, think again why Tom Brady is pumped for the stretch run this season. All that and more as we get up with you on ESPN.